It gets crazy, so loud. It gets shaky, shaky, so proud. When a lady was a baby, there's a saving she's craving we don't know about. It ain't always easy, but I promise it's beautiful. Welcome to the side that don't show, baby. Ooh, child. There will be trials. I'll help you through reality.
I love it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode on the other side of momming, because why? There is more to this mom life. I'm really excited. I always say that. I'm always excited, right? But I'm like really excited because my guest today, like, first of all, let me tell you, season 4 is popping because I got real experts this time around. Like, not just my girls. I mean, I think we're all experts, but like people who like study, right? They did the thing. So I cannot wait for y'all to meet her today. And like we always do, we're just going to jump into it. We always start off with a mom-inspirational quote because we need to be inspired as mamas, because, you know, these kids be, you know, if you're gentle parenting, they're not gentle. Mine aren't. So this comes from Auntie Michelle Obama, and she says, the changes, the highs and lows, and the hormonal shift, there is power in that. So I'm going to say it one more time. The changes, the highs and lows, and the hormonal shifts, there is power in that. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ashley Koff, who is a registered dietitian of the Better Nutrition Program. And Ashley, I'm going to let you tell us about yourself, your expertise, and then like, let's get into it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I love this. Okay. So, well, I never thought I would end up being a dietitian. It wasn't my plan. My plan was to work in advertising, and actually to sell sugared cereals and tell you they were good for you. Okay. That wasn't my plan, but I loved selling stuff and I got into advertising, and, you know, in the mid 90s, that's what the option was. But I had crippling, the real story is, like, as a kid, I mean, under 10, I was this cute, chubby girl. You know, I had big curls and I had a big belly, and like, who wasn't, you know, I mean, big cheeks, and she was
That's
super
so cute. Yeah.
And then, like, somewhere between like 10 and onwards, you know, society tells you that then you're a fat kid and that this is not like okay. And so, you know, I went down the path of you know, just try to fix it. I will say my parents were fabulous. You know, they were just like, you know, what we have resources. We're going to make sure you, and everybody told me you're healthy. Like, don't worry, you know, you just need to lose weight. So, you know, it was the 80s and it was like, hey, just diet better. So I just tried every diet under the sun and nothing worked for me. College introduced me to people who had like real eating disorders, and it took me a long time to say this, but thankfully I was really bad at those. Like, I was not going to, you know, develop a true eating disorder. And like, you know, but, you know, you feel like you're a failure there too. And somewhere in my early 20s, I was hanging upside down at yoga class with this woman. Like, I'd gone to doctors, you know, I was in therapy. I was like not drinking. I was macrobiotic. I mean, I couldn't be any more quote unquote perfect trying to help myself be healthy. And this woman was like, you got to come over to my house. Like, I'm going to heal you. You know, like, this is medicine doesn't help. Like, you're not going to find what you need from doctors. And, you know, you spend your last penny and literally your last ounce of hope. And I go to her house, which was crawling with cats, which they're lovely, but like not in a small apartment in New York. And I swear she put my blood, pricked my finger, maybe had me prick it and put my blood under a microscope. It was a Fisher Price microscope. I am sure, like, my nephew has the same one. Like, I swear there's like nothing legit about this, right? And she diagnoses me with a worm and is like, you got to kill the worm. Like, this worm has been, you know, your problem since age 15 and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like, I'm on it. So I do a 7-day goat's milk only cleanse. And I have never felt better. I had a flat belly. Like, in 7 days, I felt like my whole life had changed and I was going to be this like person that I was always meant to be. But unfortunately, like, by day 10, the music had stopped. You know, I was back to eating, you know, and etc. Long story, really long on that part. None of that worked. And I ended up in a bar. Yeah, totally. And I was in a bar, like my other career was going to be a stand-up comedian, and I'm telling this story to a bunch of like guys who are at the bar, belly up, and they're crying, laughing, and I randomly end up meeting an integrative, what I'll call today, an integrative gastroenterologist who said to me, did you ever take antibiotics as a kid? And I was like, if this is your pickup line, it's real weird. Like this is
not how you're going to get a woman today.
Yeah,
no,
exactly. So, we're still like, we're 1990s, like at this point. And so I went to see him, and we started the process of healing my gut, and it was just life changing. And when I went through that, I was like, okay, I grew up in a house of a doctor. I was around doctors. I had access. Like I had pretty much every access. We were like a upper middle class family, like you name it. I had the options, and nothing could help me. And so when I figured out how to do this, I was like, okay, I can sell stuff. I'm going to sell this. And so I became a dietitian, and my plan, number one, is to make sure nobody goes on a goat's milk cleanse. Like if they don't work, like that's it, No, I please just stop, whatever. And, to really meet people where they are, and really also, and I think this is so appropriate for our conversation, is to understand just how important your gut is, how important digestion is, to really the foundation of everything that happens in our body, from a health standpoint. So I've been doing that for some 20 plus. I got to work with Michelle Obama and the team for the Let's Move campaign. And so I was in DC for that. I've written a couple of books. I've done like 3 or 4 reality TV shows.
Wait, pause.
Like these things.
First of all, she's glossing over how amazing she is. I went on the website. I looked it up. Okay.
Thanks.
These are not just a couple of books, y'all. These are real books from real publishers. No shade, no tea to my indie authors, so don't come for me.
Right.
Real books, real TV shows. Like, was it Dr. Oz?
Well, yeah. So I did Dr. Oz. I did Good Morning America for a couple of years, pretty consistently and things. Yeah. And it's the part of the reason I gloss over that is, when I started doing this, there wasn't that much of it, but now there's so much of it, and everyone is doing it. And what I really want to talk about today is that, like, you actually can't get your information there. I was real careful in what I would talk about on TV to say to people, like, this is something to explore, or this is something to consider. But everything today comes with a publicist, and that's not like, you need to be your own publicist. You need to be like, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. This is who I am. Like, can you help me personally? And I think that's really missing in the majority of the media. And I feel like most people have what I call infobesity. We have so much information that it's actually keeping us from actually being healthier, on that part.
Fair. Yeah. So when we're talking about it from perimenopause, that's where I'm at. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Very good over here.
Big hug. Big hug.
Oh my God. Yeah. I have felt tortured by this thing.
Yeah.
And I think so. I just turned 40 this year.
Okay.
But I started noticing symptoms probably maybe after my last kid.
Okay.
5 years ago. So, and it was really subtle. Right. And so then, like, one day though, I'm waking up in a pool of sweat at night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? Or my ovulation, like, was so dramatic. Like, I would feel sick after I would ovulate. So I would feel nauseous. Like, every day up until my cycle, I would have, like, and my doctors know I'm recovering hypochondriac. Let me just put that disclaimer out there. So I will go on WebMD, like, oh, you're dying. Cool.
Yeah.
Let me tell my doctor why I'm dying. And they'll be like, please stay off of there. So I've gotten better. But I'm constantly checking my breasts because I'm just like, they're hurting and one side is hurting and I don't understand. And then I've started, like, trying to understand the gut health that you're talking about. Haven't quite mastered it.
Yeah.
But I know, like, okay, if I work out, I can stop the night sweats. But I don't like working out because I get bored, and that's ADHD. The anxiety peaks. It's really bad. So all of these symptoms that I'm realizing are random itching. I've never itched so much in my life. Like, I would just itch, just randomly. So when we're talking like perimenopause and menopause, like, how does that relate to our gut? Is there hope for us outside of just, hormonal replacement treatments, for those who might not be ready for that route?
Mhm.
But are there things that we can just do naturally for our bodies?
Yeah. So I love this. And I'm 51, and I feel like I probably didn't even wake up to it until like
Mm,
48, 49. And and all of a sudden I was like, I had a couple of really pivotal moments. So this is not like a couple of years. Like, so let's just start with that.
mhm,
So if we basically take like from a 5-year-old to a 19-year-old, and I'm just
mhm,
saying as a woman, that's what we're talking about. And it was like cute, and we had support, and we had people that would understand us, and we
mhm,
had the cozy corner in the room that we could go sit in, or like,
mhm,
whatever it was. And we don't have that now. And it is, and
mhm,
it's like so important to understand that this is really massive. And a lot of times it's spanning a period in our lives or multiple periods in our lives that we're going through. So what I mean by that is it might be kids at home. It might be kids on their way
mhm,
leaving home. It might be a relationship starting. It might be a relationship ending. There's
mhm.
always financial stress. Like, there's just everything. So if you had to adult through puberty, like, that is what perimenopause is. And it just sucks, like,
Ooh.
across the board. You are one of the more, probably it goes with your hypochondria, like, I'm going to pay attention to these. I have so many women that like actually did not connect the dots until we come in and
Mhm,
have a conversation where, like, look at this, these
mhm,
different things happen. So I'm going to make it very simple for us. At number one, during this time period, every hour of every day, as well as every different day that ends in Y, your body shows up with a like just different needs and an entirely different state. So one
mhm,
of the things that makes this literally like crazy or mania inducing is that
mhm.
it's not the same day to day. So one of the
Yes.
things that the medicine has done, the medical community has done, is often dismissed us because they will ask, has this been happening? Like, they want it to happen day in and day out for you to be
Mhm,
like, okay, like, you itch all the time in this one spot. Let's go look and see what's going on. And you're like, no, I'm
mhm.
just itchy, like I
I'm
got,
just itchy, like.
Totally. I mean, and it's like I found myself like out in public the other day, and I was like, "Oh my God, Ashley, pull your hand out of your shirt and stop touching yourself here." But I was itchy, and it's so normalized to me that I'm just like, "Oh, I'm itchy in that spot, like I'm rubbing up against a tree, whatever." So just we have to recognize that part. But one of the things that we can actually do is start to track symptoms. That is actually really important because
Mhm.
number one, it may tell us that we do need to seek medical attention by a
Right.
qualified practitioner. Number two, we can start to look at when things are happening. So one of the things that you mentioned with ovulation is that ovulation you may have cruised through ovulation and not really been aware of it, in the past, or maybe you just were
Mhm,
a little more sexually curious, or you were a little more like,
mhm,
hey, check out. But now it's like it's a thing, and there's
mhm,
that part happening. I thought that I was like got very worried about my heart, and I started
mhm,
I was having really like intense heart pain, or like, and racing heart and
mhm.
things like that. And here I was training for some event, and so like I was out running and hiking and all this other stuff, and so I kept asking people, and they're like how, like, you're fine, how. And then I had some great practitioners who said, go and get this checked out. And I went
Mhm.
in and got checked out, and everybody's like, clean bill of health, but a couple of things were happening. And also with COVID, we get worried about, could there be stuff going on with
Yes.
your heart? So definitely get stuff checked out. But it wasn't until I started tracking that I learned now that when my estrogen drops, so between ovulation and the end of my cycle, I am feeling it in my heart. Like, so that is what is happening there, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so the only way to know that something is consistently happening month on month, or whatever, is for us to actually track. So number one, track. Number two, when your hormones shift, they throw your digestive health off course.
Yes.
Now, everything else in our life is already throwing our digestion off course. So things like if we drink alcohol to cope, or just because we enjoy it, or if we have aches and pains, so we take like ibuprofen or Advil or
Mhm.
Motrin for cramps or things like that, those affect the lining of our digestive tract. If we took hormones to get pregnant, if we were on birth control to not get pregnant, if we have had, had to take steroids, if we've taken antibiotics, like there are, if we're stressed, like if we literally just hearing this, we're elevating. So all of this is actually already challenging our digestive system. And then when our hormones shift, it impacts our digestion. So number one, ladies, the key to success here is making sure that you optimize your digestion. And that is something for 25 years, ever since I stopped doing goat's milk cleanses, I have been helping people do cleanse. I should say one. I never did it again. I won't even, no goat cheese for me, like never again. Yeah. So, on that part, and what we need to do is we need to recognize this is not about taking a probiotic. Like, thank you for the marketers for probiotics, on that part. It's not about just now taking magnesium so that we can poop or we sleep a little better. It's not about, X, Y, and Z, like in terms of that. Looking at your gut function, we do need to know that number one, the lining of the digestive tract is all the way from like literally the time you open your mouth till everything exits out. All along there, it's very metabolically active, and including in the lining of our digestive tract is where the hormones like GLP-1 are made, which impact our hunger response and our cravings, and all of these things. So one of the things that we look at there is like, am I getting in enough protein, but also am I getting in enough glutamine to make sure that the lining of my digestive tract, that we've got this working. So we do an assessment of your digestive tract. So are things going the right way? Do I smell as pretty as I am? Am I noticing mouth odor? Am I noticing body odor changes? Gassy, bloated? Do I have reflux? Do I poop pellets? Do I not poop for a couple of days? Like any of these changes we pay attention to. And when those are occurring, we come in to address those. Why is that? Because that will impact anxiety, that will impact sleep, that will impact body temperature, like the list goes on. And hydration is also a part of that, of gut health, because of digestion, because they're both about, are we able to absorb the nutrients that we're taking in? So the other thing is, and all of us from a pregnancy standpoint, and like anyone, whether you've been pregnant, whether you've had children, any of that, you need to find out if you're a hose or if you're a sponge. So if you are drinking water, 8 ounces of water, this is good for a hypochondriac. If you drink 8 ounces of water, you got to test today, right? Okay. So if you drink that water, now it has to be about an hour away from caffeine or alcohol or something else. But if you drink that water and just 8 ounces, if you have to pee before 2 hours, it means you're not absorbing that water effectively. Now, if you don't have to pee for like 4 or 5 hours, it also means that your body is so dehydrated. So somewhere in that dance, that like 2 to 4 hours is where we know that, okay, we're hydrated. And so that tells me that it's not just about drinking water, it's about minerals, and things on that part. So when we look at this, we can ask ourselves, so you don't need a practitioner for this. You can evaluate your digestion, you can evaluate your hydration, and that hydration quiz is free on our website. You can look at these things, and it can give you a sense of where to start in, right? And one of the things that I often get asked about is like, I'm just putting on belly weight. Like, I could literally look at food and I don't even eat it, and then my belly, and I'm seeing a thickening there. And we also know that's negative from health risk, et cetera.
Right.
So you can't lose belly fat if your digestion isn't working better. So everyone listening today, perimenopause is a time during this time period to literally not let more than 3 months go. I like to do it every month, but just to check in on your digestion. Also, for those of you that are moms and who have kids at home, getting them comfortable talking about and sharing comments about their poop and how often they're pooping and how easy it is to poop or what kind of poop or any of this stuff. So making it a very poop friendly or a poop literate household can be helpful to everyone.
I'm tired of talking about poop.
You're tired of
listen, I am still wiping booties.
There you go. Yes. I know.
Still wiping booties, but coming in there.
Yeah.
And my son, like, so we might be a little too poop friendly.
You might be a little too poop friendly, and that's okay. My 4-year-old nephew 2 days ago, and Ashley, I wiped myself, and he brought the toilet paper out to me, and I was like, I'm so proud of you. High five with the other hand, so I hear you. Yeah, totally. But, one of those is, and it's not necessarily something we always have to talk about, but it is something that you can also be evaluating your kids' health too. That's a conversation for an entirely different day. Coming back to perimenopause, we cannot be healthy. We can't have our skin have what it needs. our bellies not, create excess storage because they're challenged there. And we also need to make sure that we're eliminating toxins. Now, this is an important one because you mentioned hormone replacement therapy. And I think one of the misnomers is that that's about taking estrogen or taking testosterone, or adding progesterone. It's also about the nutrients. It should be about the nutrients that nourish our hormones, right? So we can start with that now to stave off a decline or to optimize the hormones that we have. And I think that's where you're going. But if you are going to consider, I put my progesterone cream on at night, and I'm like the happiest person ever. Like, it's like that, like it's better than a magnesium bath for me. I'm like, go to work. Like, here we go. That's right. Soften me up. Like, here we go. So, I'm so happy on that part. But for many women, there are and I would just say for all of us, we have a detoxification system. And that detoxification system is designed not just to help us with all the toxins that exist in our environment to make sure that those get eliminated, but we use up hormones. That is the process. We use up vitamin D, we use up insulin, we use up progesterone, we use up thyroid hormone. When we use them up, they become toxic to our body if they are not eliminated. Hormones are in a fat form. They need to be in a urine, in a water form in order for them to be eliminated. That requires conversion. That requires nutrients. So I don't let anyone go on hormone replacement therapy until I know that we're optimizing their detoxification system, because otherwise I'm increasing your risk of cancer or of other disease, or things like that. So it's like, this already sounds like, okay, thanks, Ashley. You came in and you gave me an entirely new day job or a whole other to-do list. And I get that, like, the middle finger comes up and like all these other pieces, but here's what I want you to acknowledge to you. Many of you are already trying to do all the things to stay healthy. And if you're not actually starting with the things that I'm talking about here, you are washing your floor with dirty shoes. You are throwing money at things that is not going to be helpful for you. And so I do think that it's important to turn around and say, and it's why, like, my company, I made this available to people for like $39 a month. I was like, I am not stepping out. I wish insurance covered everything that I do. And, maybe someday I'll go back to DC and we can actually make that happen. But
actually lobby for it. Yeah. I
mean, I've been there, the people lobbying against us doing this, the power of the insurance companies in this country to like not actually help us is, insane. And I won't go down that path right now. But what I do want you to understand is taking any supplement without knowing exactly how you're measuring the impact of it, or knowing that your body can actually absorb it, or knowing that is actually what your body needs, is an absolute waste of money. So just don't do it, right? And that doesn't mean don't take supplements. It means turn around and say, what's the plan that I have in place, for figuring this out? And it's really important, because I am definitely that person. Not only did I get to the place where I did a goat's milk cleanse and spent thousands of dollars I didn't have prior to that, but I also am the same woman who a couple of years ago, started running her hands through her, like, now I wear it curly because I was wearing my hair straight at the time. And I would have like handfuls, not like a hair came out, but handfuls. Yeah. So I threw every dollar that I had. Here I am, this like train, all this other stuff. And it was like, okay, like I'll do anything. Like I was injecting stuff into my scalp. I'm like doing, I mean, you name it, like, et cetera. I'm the opposite of you. Like, it's not the hypochondria. I'm like, I know there's a problem. Like I'm going in, I'm fixing this. Like, here's all this stuff.
Meanwhile, over here, just accepting fate. Like,
yeah. And then it was like, hey, Ashley, do a couple of labs. And again, track them for say 3 months on that part, or track them for 6 months. And we're seeing what you don't have. And let's talk about your hair just for a second, which is your body is never going to prioritize your hair. Like there are 400 jobs for it to do with protein and minerals and vitamins. And your hair, it basically just sees as like this thing that's on the top of your head that grows out with whatever's left over, and it could care less about it. It's dead. It doesn't need it, like all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, in order to make sure that your body prioritizes your hair, which we actually care about a lot, and our face, our skin, and our nails, the things we care the most about, the body's like, well, I don't care about. You actually have to go from not just being at nutrient sufficient levels, so not being at a deficit, but nutrient sufficient. You have to go to optimal levels, because the body basically needs to say, Ashley, your thyroid, your bones, your heart, and your muscle all need this nutrient. you want me to give it to your hair? Okay, then I better have all those other ones covered off. And I'm now going to have it for my hair on that part.
Right.
So it does really, it changes the game. It's why also things like the recommended dietary allowances, which I affectionately call, really dumb amounts, like any of these measures that are out there, they're not helpful for us. Saying like I need 400 milligrams of magnesium, I need that to get out of bed. Like I'm a cranky critter these days. My bodies are, and I mean that maybe emotionally, but I also meant it like, I trained really hard last night, and I was like, I woke up this morning, I'm like, give me some magnesium. I've probably already hit 400, that and some chocolate, how I start my day. And I'm like, all right.
Oh,
So,
that's nice.
how do we go from that to optimal, right? And how do we figure that out? So there is a path forward. You asked me a super direct question about digestion. I went off on 30,000 things, but I want you to understand that this is something that, ideally you do with a partner who can really help you by understanding who you are, and not, just, kind of do with based on like, what our sheroes are doing out there, and we want to follow, them, in that part. And then also recognize there's an order to this. So depending on where you are in perimenopause, which also depends on what your pregnancies were like, or not having pregnancies, or what your childhood was like, and, access to nutrients or not access to nutrients, like all of these different things, that's all going to come to a head at the start of perimenopause, and really needs to be addressed in that whole person way, on that part.
Makes sense. Because I think about like both of my pregnancies that I did have, and the first one almost took me out because I developed HELLP syndrome, and then the second one was textbook. When she was 41 weeks, it was a week over. Couldn't get out fast enough. And but I think about what I'm going through now, and like, okay, my heart palpitations are happening again. But it's been the gut, the bloating, the gassiness. This, my kids are just like, this morning, I heard one of them tell my husband, "Oh, your farts stink, but mom's are just loud." And and
yes,
they are pretty loud.
Yes.
And at this point, it's happening in public. And there's nothing I can do about it at this point, but just,
Okay, so there is something you can do about it. So let's talk about that. So
not fart in public?
No, let's go through this. So his stinky farts mean that his body is not breaking down nutrients effectively. Like, so he may be, what he's consuming, the body isn't breaking down and eliminating effectively. So he might benefit from some things like alkaline formers, maybe he gets in some more greens, some lemon in the water. But he also may need some help, like digestive enzymes, or he may need to chew a little bit better, or he might need to eat a little more slowly, or these kinds of things. We're done with him. Over to you. Okay, so here's the things that you want to know. So first of all, the lining of your digestive tract needs some support if we're farting like this. So that I'm just straight up on that.
Listen, straight shooter.
Straight up. So there's an amino acid called glutamine. It's found in a lot of foods. And so that is the good part. It is the glue. So it is called that because it glues our digestive tract lining together. And for many reasons, you don't have to go into, I shared some of them before. It now is essential, even though it's been called conditionally essential because our body can make it. So usually with someone like you, I'll start off and say, that might be a worthy supplement just to consider for a couple of months. Take about 3 to 5 grams of glutamine and get that in so that we do some repair work of that lining, that's in there. And then I do look at probiotics at the good bacteria. My sister-in-law and I were just talking about this, and she's like, but I eat yogurt like every day. And I said, you could eat yogurt literally till the cows come home. You're not going to get enough bifidobacteria. So bifidobacteria, like Bifidobacteria infantis, et cetera, that one needs to be in the gut to make sure that it's actually telling the other ones what to do. And so I often find that in the gas production, in that bloating, in that space, that's a place where we don't have enough of that bifidobacteria. Now, gas is created because for 3 reasons. One, if we take in bubbles and our system is not moving those bubbles out, then it's trapped in there. So we can take in bubbles, drinking through a straw, chewing gum, drinking bubbly water, that like taking, when we're talking like taking in air and not getting it out. Okay, so we can work on that. We can look at that part. The second one is that if our system, if the motility isn't moving, what's happening is your body is digesting and doing all its work in here, and it's like these sides, either side, like it's getting stuck in there because things aren't moving, right? Your digestive
Yeah.
tract is this muscle. So a lot of times gas accompanies maybe some constipation or slower movement, that kind of thing. So what I would say on that part is that is where we get in magnesium. We can eat cashews, we can have dark chocolate, we can get in our greens, and we can get magnesium there. But we also may benefit from, just because it makes us sleep a little bit better and we enjoy that, maybe some magnesium glycinate, or if we're real constipated, maybe some magnesium citrate and glycinate before we go to bed. And just see if that helps, with some of that relaxation, on that part. And then the final piece is that the way that gas is being created is when we eat any form of carbohydrate, forget about if it's good or bad for us, the bacteria go in, they eat it, and they give off gas. Like that is what they do. So the other piece that I look at is what type of carbohydrate and how much carbohydrate am I taking in? And I'm not getting rid of carbohydrates in 97% of the individuals, that I'm working with, but I may look at, am I getting in more carbohydrate at one time, or am I getting in a form of the carbohydrate that I could reduce on that part? And maybe I'm not getting in enough protein and the healthy fats. So an example of that is, tell me what you had for breakfast, or what you have for breakfast.
I haven't ate yet, but I made me some bacon.
Yeah. You'll have some bacon and
bacon, and I'll have scrambled eggs.
Okay.
And maybe I'm deciding between grits or toast.
Okay, got it. And do you have anything, so you haven't eaten yet, but do you have any coffee, anything like that before you
drink herbal tea.
Okay.
The celestial season. So that's what I'm drinking now. The
nice.
fruit, was it berry zinger with honey and water, because I worked out this morning, so I usually don't eat before I work out.
Okay, got it. And I know the top priority was to get to the podcast with me, et cetera. However, we do want to try eating. This is important for perimenopausal women. You want to try to get that protein to replace in the body about 30 to 45 minutes after you've worked out. So we don't want to wait too long for breakfast after we've worked out on that part. Yeah. And so you'll have your bacon, some eggs, and then either grits or toast. And will you say after that immediately you'll feel gassy, or do you feel like the gas kind of brews and then maybe like we're farting in public in the afternoon? Yeah.
It depends. Yeah. I may poop within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good poop. Maybe it's a struggling one.
Yep.
And then after that, there's the gas. So maybe a few hours afterwards, it'll probably be gassy, and just kind of just roll with it. But usually it's the constipation that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Not too long.
So it's more like the back half of the day, like becomes like just sort of, okay, cool. So first of all, I want us to get to the place where you're pooping first thing in the morning. So that says to me that magnesium at night, and maybe some of this glutamine during the day, maybe we add in a bifidobacteria. And notice I've just talked about supplements. The reason I'm talking about them is that the food is actually part of the problem until we help your digestion run better, right? Like, we're helping on that part. And so if you take the magnesium at night before bed, maybe you take like 200 to 300 milligrams, you get some magnesium citrate, some magnesium glycinate. You're going to love how you sleep. And then you should wake up and we should be pooping on that part. So when we wake up and we poop, that is a release. So what you want to think about is, I'm making a muscle right now. And so a muscle is calcium, but it's also stress. So if you don't have enough magnesium in your body is literally, you are walking around with your digestive system looking like somebody who is holding their muscle up, like that. You're that guy who is literally doing this all day, and you're trying to do everything else with one arm and holding a muscle. And I'm already tired. Remember, I told you I worked out hard yesterday. So I already want to relax the muscles. So there are some nights in perimenopause where I am taking my magnesium supplements. I am sitting in a magnesium bath, and I'm getting out of the bath and rubbing magnesium oil on. Do what you need to do with the magnesium to be helpful there. Now, some of us also need to look at vitamin C, because if we don't have enough vitamin C, it's impacting, that also is impacting, and especially those of you that might have really dry, hard poops. Or if you're somebody who's like, Ashley, I'm hitting that magnesium and I'm not getting better, we might want to add some of that vitamin C. Now, I don't usually turn around and say like, throw back some emergencies for that. It could probably work. I like a little bit of like a buffered or a liposomal vitamin C, and and being able to get that in, but also food, people, like raspberries, blackberries,
Love those.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Easy
let's
stuff. Easy way to
yeah,
get it
and
in.
you could have those with your, you could skip the grits and the toast, and you could say, I'm going to have some raspberries, blackberries, a couple pieces of orange, and I'm going to have that. I'm going to get in a couple of colors with my, with my bacon and eggs. So I think that's going to happen. But what's happening for you is literally tension. You're starting off the day, you exercise. So you're starting off, you don't have a poop. Now you're exercising, and it's just like tension is happening on your digestive tract, like this, to the point that by about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, like maybe it's lucky if you poop, as you said, like maybe things are, kind of moving through, but that tension is there. And anything that you have taken in the day, including just your herbal tea, there is gas, like it's stuck in there. And that's what the gas and the bloating is, right? So we have to relieve that. Now, for some people, we actually do well with having them do magnesium at lunchtime as well, just to kind of move things along. Depends on, what's going on there. For others, I actually will have them, instead of your breakfast, after you work out, I might have you do a smoothie where we get the protein powder in there, but I might put spinach and some raspberries in there. And I might make the base with, say, like, we're going to talk about this one in a second, but I might make it with like unsweetened hemp milk, or I might use like an almond milk or something, but not a heavy carbohydrate. And getting in liquid nutrition instead of, it's not that I'm telling you you can't have your bacon and eggs. We might just have it later. It's just when you have that liquid nutrition after a workout, if you haven't pooped, your body's going to have a really tough time absorbing breaking down and absorbing the eggs, the bacon, the grits, the toast, the, whatever on that part. Yeah. So the liquid form could be really great. You'll notice that I mentioned hemp in there. So I also want us to understand that hemp seeds, I'm not talking about THC and CBD and all of that stuff, but hemp seeds are what I call the wild salmon of the plant kingdom. And I want every perimenopausal woman to hear this. Hemp seeds and wild salmon. So you could do canned wild salmon. Like, instead of making tuna fish, I make, do cans with that, or I might do a salmon burger, or I do any of that. It has a fatty acid in there called GLA. And I call I have everybody remember it by, it is the glamour fatty acid. So your hair, your skin, your nails, and then what else is glamorous? Feeling sexy. So all the dryness that's down there, and like all the itchy and like all the other stuff, we need this fatty acid like nobody's business. Yes, it is an omega-6 fatty acid, and yes, hemp seed is a seed oil. So please just ignore anyone who talks badly about the omega-6s or about seed oils. You can eat the hemp seeds, you could take the seed oil, you could use the oil, you could take it as a supplement if you want. There's borage, there's evening primrose oil, you can take these other ones. But eating hemp seeds, number one, they're a complete protein. They give you iron, magnesium, manganese, all these great things. They give you fiber, and they have no carbohydrate. So I toss them on fruit. I toss them on salads. I make hemp pesto, which is my favorite thing on the planet, and I put it on a slice of toast, or I put it on, cucumbers or whatever. But getting that and wild salmon in is going to be such a game changer for you, because that ingredient actually stops hot flashes. So I want to repeat that for everybody. Glamour fatty acid helps to stop and prevent hot flashes. So one of the other things for all of us that are out there being told, I take that fish oil or do this other thing. Fish does have this fatty acid, but the fish oil supplements have become EPA and DHA, and they ditched the GLA because they were like, ooh, get that omega-6 out of there.
That's right.
And when they ditched it, they ditched our hormone helper. So I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I will take my omega-3, 6, 7, and 9s, and I'm going to have great looking hair, and I'm going to feel better, and, these kinds of things.
I was going to mention, your skin looks flawless.
Thank you. I'm 51. Well, I also remember I had those chubby cheeks, but what you can't see, what I'm battling now is this. It's the, oh my gosh, because I'm also wearing glasses, but the bags under the eyes, and like, as someone who's like, everything tells you a story about what's going on inside, I finally had someone tell me, no, Ashley, that's hormone. We're working on firming up the skin. I feel like it happened overnight, literally. I was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I have these puffy eyes. I looked at my thyroid, we looked at these other things, and it is also estrogen. And so this is a really important one too, which is, when do you start to use these things? And I've had a couple of practitioners who have felt like it was too early for me because I still have all these great numbers, when you look at them. And I just met someone who was like, great, numbers are cool, but they're like, not at all about you. Like, it's good that we have your numbers, and they'll tell it, if things go awry, they'll,
give
tell
the
us on that
story,
part.
but
Yeah,
still.
but like, let's go ahead and try this, so I'm waiting. I got about two more weeks for the arrival of my products. And I'm like,
I'm
okay, so
excited for you.
I'll be seeing you without bags, in March.
Let me know how that works.
Right,
mine is from kids.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's also right. But it is, and it's true. Like, there are things, the darkness can be, it can definitely tell us about liver. It can tell us about our thyroid. I will tell you right now, and you are like, everything you're telling me, and this is like every other woman that I have this conversation on. I've been helping perimenopausal and menopausal women since I was 22. Like, this is not a new phenomenon on that part, but when we are backed up internally, when our digestion is anything less than optimal, it is going to show in our face, and it is going to show in our bellies. And by the way, it's also going to show up in your tush. I don't know if you've had the blessing of like having butt acne, but that was one that showed up for me. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Randomly.
Thank you. Oh, totally.
So my acne kind of, it's like, if I'm working on my skin, on my face, it will pop up in other places, like moves. It's angry.
Yes.
And so I'm just like, so we're fighting now. Now we're fighting. Now we're in the tussle.
Yeah, so you know why it's, so you know what it's telling you? So acne is a signal that at every phase of our life, when anything is going on in our skin, it is telling us our digestion needs our attention. And the issue with that is that it is an elimination that is happening. So your body is basically saying, hey, things are not eliminating optimally in the rest of my system. And so as a result, I'm going to pop up and literally show you that I am trying to have, maybe it's okay to say this here, but like the shit is going to come out on your body wherever.
Somewhere.
Like, so it is literally, and then your clothes are irritated. I mean, I wear the muumuus now, I'm like, oh, I got the dress, I was like, I'm not going to have butt acne with that, or you try to do something good for yourself, right? You like go and you exercise and you're like, like gone are like the super cute, tight fitting clothes. Cause I'm like, that on that part.
Because you have an acne in a place where it's just uncomfortable at.
It's uncomfortable and it's not sexy either. It is not
sexy. You can't
sexy.
pop it like you want to.
That's right.
And you shouldn't pop anyway, but but listen, it's on your booty cheek.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So in that regard, that's one of the things, and this might help your husband too. I know it will, but I'm just like hypothetically throwing it out there. But, I'll do chlorophyll droppers. So I take, it will make your tongue green, but I go and I buy chlorophyll. You can also just take a bunch of greens and put them in the blender, et cetera, and throw that back. And that concentrated amount is going to go in. The alkaline formers are going to go in and be a really nice counterbalance to the acidity, that can build up inside of us. But it is so important. Like this whole perimenopause conversation really does need to be a digestion detoxification kind of first conversation. It's why also things like saunas and cold plunging and others are getting a lot of attention, because they're also having an impact on helping our body to eliminate and also to heal, the digestive system. And I do want to share one thing that many of us have, we may have friends or we may personally be encountering it, et cetera. But I mentioned in, my monologue at the beginning that your digestive tract lining is where we make our GLP-1 and other hormones like PYY, CCK, et cetera. These are what I call your metabolic switch hormones. And they are responsible for hopefully getting to your brain as well as getting to the rest of your body and sending signals that you don't need to think about food. You don't need to eat food right now. Like, hey, good, you're done. Like, you can go on with other projects for a couple of hours. But many of us are not getting those messaging. And so as a result, we may even be looking at things like Ozempic and Zepbound and, some of the, or using a compounding version of, a compounded semaglutide or tirzepatide. And there are other peptides, you might be hearing about like on podcasts, things like BPC or, now PDA and, some of these others, which by the way, doesn't stand for PDA, right? It's a peptide. But these actually, there's a lot of really good therapies that can help our gut, like that can come in and do this help. And so I am a very big proponent of using them. I'm using them very successfully with my patients. I've been working on these kinds of things since like 2005 when I first, sort of started learning about them as hormones and peptides. But none of them will work if we aren't also like, they can come in and do work and you will see benefit. But we still need to be working on the internal stuff, in your digestion on that piece. Yeah.
That makes sense. This has been so good. I feel like I could talk to you all day.
Yay. But we got things.
All my hypochondriac questions would just come to the forefront.
That's right.
Okay, so before we wrap up,
yes,
I want you to tell me 3 things for our mamas to help them on our perimenopausal journey.
Yep. Great.
And then tell us what you have coming up next and how we can find you.
Perfect. Okay. Number 1, and I'm looking at you. Okay. Number 1, instead of creating a to-do list, I want you to go in and take things off your to-do list. We have too much on our plate. And the stress and the to-do, and literally, and you guys might be like, well, that's so lovely and like great, like, and does she have all these like fairy helpers, that get stuff done? And
Ashley is snatching edges today, y'all. Ashley, have you ever heard that about snatching edges?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, because she started with me because she knew.
Yeah, like
shit on my plate. I need to get shit out and off my plate.
That's right. We need the shit to come out. That's going to be the second one, but the first one here is going to be take stuff off. So, and I mean that in a like, hey, like I might have had plans for the day or I might have had plans for the week, but literally look at your to-do list and cross something off and just be like, hey, that's not going to happen today and it doesn't need to happen today. And then when you're crossing it off, actually ask the question, does that actually need to happen? Right? Like, can I get rid of some stuff? Like fantasy that I'm going to read this book right now, or, whatever it is, and just not feel like I'm a bad person because I don't get my to-do list done. Like, et cetera on that part. Okay. So let's look at that part. The second one is, you got to get the shit out. So if you if any of the stuff that we were just talking about resonates in terms of your digestion, that's your focus, because literally nothing else is going to work until we're in that space, like literally nothing. So that's the place to work on. I gave you some suggestions. We also have the digestive evaluation. I can also make sure that we get that. These are all free. Please. Like these are things you can do. You can do them on your own. You can join us for $39. We'll give you a code. We'll make it 19. Like, let's just get in there and like make some things be more effective, for you. And then the third one on that part is to track your symptoms. So track things so that you're not like, and by the way, when I'm talking about tracking things, and I can make a lot of jokes, but this one is really serious because I was the person that had finished a run and got in my car and was crying and was in such a black hole that I was writing a letter to friends to say, I need your help. And I don't know what to do. And I remember that moment. And I'm not somebody, like I'm a really positive person, not Pollyanna, but like I tend. So when I saw how dark like a moment in time for me was, I was like, this is not okay. Like I'm surprising myself in that moment. And so that was great. Like that was therapy. That was talking to my naturopath who was like, okay, we got to shift some things around, et cetera. But note your emotional health. Like, so, hey, if I used to want to have sex with my husband once a month, like, and it's now been 3 months and I don't want that. Or if I used to be that person that was, in the first 2 weeks of my cycle was like, hey, I'm looking good. Like whether or not I want to have sex, like, I just feel like I'm looking good. And maybe I haven't felt that way about myself, in the last time. These are signals that will help us understand like where your mojo is going, but also like where your body is going, and things to look at. And those aren't things that we can always test with. So I think it's really important, for us to look at that. Okay. And so, what am I not working on is a great question.
That's the real question.
So here we go. So the good news is it's kind of all the same stuff. And most of it isn't applicable. We just launched, I'm super excited. We just launched this brand new fellowship for doctors in integrative and functional medicine. So we're teaching more doctors to do what's going to help you on that part. And then at the Better Nutrition Program, we have actually just launched a new continuous glucose monitoring program, which is great to help us see what's going on with your blood sugar. And then T and I were just talking, my book doesn't come out till 2026, January, but I will get this thing written by the end of 2024. So we got some time on that one, but I am writing that book.
I'm so excited.
Thank you. Yeah, totally. So we'll all be in the place of optimizing our metabolic switch hormones, and you guys actually got to hear about it here first before, it's out there in that part.
An exclusive.
You got an exclusive. Exactly. So I know I could have hit you over the head with some things that just feel like, as I said, a lot more things on your to-do list. But honestly, if the things that we talked about today strike a chord with you, put those on your to-do list and take some of the other stuff off, because I want the things should be, they're not going to be, life's not going to be easy, but they should be doable for you to feel better. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it so much. And I'm going to be in touch because
we're going to get you moving. We're getting you moving. We're getting you moving. That's right.
The fact that my kids were like, her farts are just loud. Like,
exactly.
You. But also, you're not lying. Like,
that's right. And that's what we have to remember. So sometimes there's truth telling. I mean, I had a friend I literally didn't know about the bags under my eyes until a friend of mine sitting across from the table, I hadn't seen her in, maybe 6 or 7 months. She goes, "Oh, you're really tired today." And I was like, "Oh, I'm actually not tired at all." And I was like, "Oh shit, I just look really tired." I was like, "That's awesome. That is awesome." As I was in town, actually, all irony aside, I was in town to give a presentation on your better energy. And I was like, do I wear like sunglasses? Like, what do I do? I got these bags now.
You get some good concealer.
I mean, I'm telling you,
and brighten up.
I'm trying all the things on that part, but now I got to actually the work has to happen. So we'll see on that piece. It was so fun. Thank you for having me. So much fun.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we will see y'all on the other side. Bye.
Bye.